Too many men on the mic, remote style. I'm Drew Acree. I'm coming to you from Durango, Colorado. Beautiful mountain air, beautiful day outside. My partner in crime is also on the road. We're calling this Too Many Men on the Mic, remote style. Jared, share your details and your location with our viewers and listeners.
Yeah, we are at we're taking it live in beautiful outside in a beautiful Lake Lancer in northern Michigan. We're at the Balint Lake House, the Balint Casa Lake House, and get a little bit of R&R here, but we still want to make sure that we're servicing our community here, and we've got a great one here today for everybody. Just a great show that I think everybody's going to really be impacted by.
Hey, real quick before we get into the show, barefoot skiing, is that on the agenda later this afternoon?
Maybe for Brendan and Sean. The old man does not barefoot ski. The old man, at this age, I'm on the big Mabel sitting back, maybe with a cocktail.
You drive the boat.
I do drive the boat.
I do drive the boat.
Yeah, I do drive the boat.
Nice.
Right now, they're out there with their grandparents and mom, and I've got a little bit of peace and quiet here in the house. So.
Well, I feel like the theme of this week's topic is dealing with adversity. We talked about, I felt like a lot of coaching oriented things last week. This one is, I think, more player focused. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think player and family focus. Everybody out there, I'm repping Affton Central States today. Last week we were Rockets in Ladue, and this one hits close to home. My oldest son plays for Affton Central States, and today we're going to be talking to a very special person, Bob Jakubeck. He is the head coach for Affton Central State's 18U. Last year, he was the head coach for the 16U team. And as many folks in the hockey community, youth hockey community know in the St. Louis area, there was just an unspeakable tragedy in the fall of 2024-2025 season. And we lost just a wonderful young man, Colin Brown. He played for the Affton Central State 16U team for Bob. And he also played for CBC High School. And through that tragedy, what we're going to talk about today is how you go from a team to a family to a community and really honor this young man's legacy and talk about him, talk about the impact he had in such a short life on not just his family and his teammates, but a community as a whole. And then talk about how in his passing, he became a hero. So there's no better person to do this than Bob Jakubeck, who's a St. Louis youth hockey coach and former player. And why don't we go ahead and bring Bob on here and let's have this conversation and give the folks, give them some perspective and really some love and awareness for this game of ours here. Bob, how are you doing today? Thanks for joining Too Many Men on the Mic.
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. I love talking about Brownie. Anytime anybody asks me, it's my favorite topic. It's my singular goal right now is to make sure that Brownie's legacy lives on. So anytime I get the chance to talk about him, I'm happy to join.
Hey, Bob, I started off the show talking about our remote nature of this particular podcast. You've got a beautiful view behind you. Care to share with our listeners where you are today?
Yeah, so I'm at the Lake of the Ozarks. We have a place here, and I try and sneak here as much as I can during the off season. Sometimes on off weekends during the when I say off season, most people are talking. I'm not talking about I'm talking about the hockey off season. So
yeah.
So I get here as much as I can during the summer, and during an off weekend during the season, I try and get here too. It's my peaceful place where I can get away and just kind of regroup.
Something tells me that you've come up with some pretty good practice plans at that location.
Oh, that's right. That's right. My wife gives me trouble. She's like, I thought you came here to get away. And,
right.
I'm in the garage watching Live Barn and,
It's going to cut the cord on the Wi-Fi for sure.
Right.
Well, before we get started, tell us a little bit about that hat you have on there. I kind of see that you got the angel wings in 72. And for those of the listening audience that don't know, we're honoring Colin Brown on a lot of levels today. But Affton, the Affton Americans hockey organization, recently retired his 72. And so that was really the impetus behind getting Bob on, who's so gracious with his time. So Bob, tell us a little bit about that hat, and let's kind of start kind of at the beginning of your relationship with Brownie and how you became his coach, and just let's talk a little bit about that.
Okay, well, starting with the hat, after Brownie's passing, one of my high school classmates reached out to me. He had lost a daughter. She was killed in a car accident when she was at Ole Miss. So news like this hits home, and that's the message I've gotten from a lot of people who've reached out to me. Strangers have reached out to me who've lost friends, who've lost kids. Well, this hit home to my classmate, and he wanted to do something for our group. So we had 23 of these made, and it's got the 72, which is Brownie's number, in the middle with wings around the outside, and we all the players, all the coaches have them, and it's a very special, meaningful hat. I actually have a. I don't know if you can see this. I got a tattoo with the
nice.
Same.
There you go.
Yeah, and my assistant coaches did the same thing. We all went together. Even though I'm a hockey player, I'm not big on pain, so this was a. I was frightened, and
How long did that take, Bob?
It took about a half hour. It felt like 3.
Yeah.
Well, here we are sitting around and we're talking about this young man, and we're joking and we're smiling. So if that's not a great way to start talking about this legacy man has left for us, I don't know what is. Dive right into it, Bob. Tell us a little bit about Brownie as a teammate, as a player, how he was, and then obviously we can lead into like really the tragedy and how you led this group of young men and help them grow and help this community grow.
Yeah. Okay. So I coached I coached Brownie for 2 years. When I was asked to take on this very talented 2008 birth year group, I didn't know much about them. So the organization graciously flew me out to Denver to watch the team play at Nationals. Their 14U Eagles team had qualified for Nationals, so I got a chance to go out there. And it was a very successful group. So, it was, to be honest, it was a group that probably wasn't looking for change. They had a lot of success, and they hear some new guy, some old guy is coming in to replace, all of their 30-something-year-old coaches, or 20, I mean, young guys.
Right.
And so I got a chance to go out there and meet all the players, all the families, and including Brownie. And the thing that struck me about Brownie just the moment that I met him was just the genuineness, the politeness, what a great young man that he was. And to be honest, my first thought was, gosh, I hope he wants to stick around and play for me, because I really feel like I could build a team around a kid like that. So I had a chance.
And that was really with limited viewing of his skating. I get what I'm hearing you saying is what attracted to you was he was a good person.
Yeah, I had limited viewing of his skating. To be honest, all those players were perfectly qualified to be on my team.
Right.
But I'm also looking for character people. That's who we built our team around. And he was Exhibit A in character. And
Bob, was he a vocal guy? Was he a lead by example kind of guy?
He was more lead by example until something pissed him off, and he needed to say something. That's one of the things I loved about him. He wasn't getting in people's ears. Um, he was more uplifting and primarily just led by the way that he played. He played a disciplined game. He he played a very competitive game. He was a fierce competitor. He wasn't losing many puck battles in the corners, but yeah, every once in a while, he'd get a little fired up, and to be honest, he was usually spot on when he was fired up. And
Jared, I didn't have the chance to coach him, so you guys are closer to this than me. Bob, was he a forward or was he a defenseman?
He's a defenseman.
Oh, okay.
Right up your alley, Drew. Drew's a D guy by heart.
I like him already.
Yeah. He plays a heavy game. He's fast. I would say more defensive oriented, but he could get up the ice and join the play, and good foot speed.
Sounds
just a really good, solid all around player.
We're sitting here, three of us coaches, who probably between the three of us have damn near close to 100 years of coaching experience. That might be maybe not that big of an example.
Wow,
actually, it's
you
not
sound
that big.
old.
For the players out there, because again, on this show, we want to look at this from all lenses, parents, coaches, players. You didn't hear once from Coach Jakubeck that he was this dynamo player. What you heard was, and what I tell all the kids who I coach as they're going to try out for these club teams, is the character, the confidence, but really a good teammate. And I tell my players who I coach at high school level, and even my own sons, have that character, walk into the rink, introduce yourself to the coach, make it that you're respectful, that you care about your teammates. That's the key, because as you said, Bob, all those kids can play. And as you continue to age and get into that 14, 15, 16, 18 most kids can play. Mm-hmm. You want to be a good person first. And I think that's what's critical about this story today, and a lot of the lessons that people who didn't even know Brownie can take from this. So that's a great point I want to make sure we mention.
Bob, we talk a lot about brand, whether it's a hockey club or a hockey player. And just out of curiosity, can you talk a little bit about Brownie's brand from your view?
He's just authentic. He's hardworking. And you guys know this as a coach. All you can really ask for is to know what you're going to get from a player day in and day out. He's that player. Hopefully as kids get older, the variances in their play from game to game, get a little bit tighter. His was razor thin. It's just we knew what we were going to get from him, and that's a tough, hard-nosed game. He was going to play discipline. He was going to play smart. He was going to play a team game, and I don't know how to summarize that in one word, but
consistency is what I'm hearing. Consistency is what I'm hearing.
Yeah,
he had he was able to get his game. He knew what his game was, and he played that game each time he played.
He did. Yeah.
We've got a good foundation on Brownie as a player, Brownie as a young man. When we come back from the break, we're going to talk about that awful tragedy, and really how, Bob, you as a leader and as an inspiration to these kids, helped to lead this team through things. But before we do that, let's have a word from one of our sponsors, Big Bear. Drew, you want to jump into that, or do you want me to take it?
Absolutely. This segment of Too Many Men on the Mic is brought to you by Big Bear Tournaments, your go-to for unforgettable youth hockey travel experiences. Big Bear hosts top-tier tournaments in some of the coolest hockey towns across North America. And one of the most popular early season events is Filling Quickly, which is the Peachtree Showdown in Atlanta, Georgia, the weekend of September 19th through 21st. Limited space remains at 10U through 18U. Register today at bigbeartournaments.com. And here's the best part. The first team to apply for this event, email sales@bigbeartournaments.com will be chosen to receive a special gift package to get their team ready for the upcoming season. Again, that is sales at bigbeartournaments.com after registering for Peachtree Showdown. Plan your next great hockey trip at bigbeartournaments.com, and don't forget to tell them Too Many Men on the Mic sent you.
And we're back to Too Many Men on the Mic here. We're joined by Coach Bob Jakubeck of the Central States Affton 18U team. Bob's joining us today to honor the legacy and talk about the impact that Colin Brown had on not just his team, his family, and the Affton Americans, but the youth hockey or community as a whole in St. Louis. You know, Bob, it's tough to remember back to this, but if I can ask you to take us back to that night in November in 2024 when, you know, of all things, coming back from a hockey game, just a random act and just a terrible tragedy occurs. As a coach, as a father, as a man, share with us a little bit about what went through your mind and just how you cope with that and how you, not just for your own self and your own, you know, mental and emotional health, but you're responsible for these other 19 young men. Talk about that if you can.
Yeah, I mean,
and we're all going to be leaking today too, so let's not fool ourselves. So it's okay.
November 23rd, I'll never forget the date. Coincidentally, it was my wedding anniversary. I'm not sure we'll celebrate our anniversary again on November 23rd, but I got the call from Calvin that night. I had I'd gone to the CBC Marquette hockey game. The game ended about 9:30. I went home right after the game. About 10:30, I'm getting ready to go to bed. We're playing Littleton the next morning. And I was in the kitchen, turning the lights off, checking everything, and come back, and I got a missed call from Calvin, of all people. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, did Brownie get hurt today? What happened?
Right.
I mean, not on my worst nightmares could I have imagined what he was going to tell me. And second of all, why are you calling me? I mean, that just shows you the Brown family and the type of people they are. He wanted to make sure that Brownie's coach knew what was going on. He thought we were going to play a hockey game the next morning. There was no way we were going to play a hockey game. To be honest, we had no idea what was going to happen with our season.
Right.
We talked about it. I told the boys, let's meet at the rink. We met at the rink. There were lots of hugs. There was lots of I love yous. There was, 16-year-old kids. 16-year-old kids. I mean, they're one of their best friends just got shot. One of their teammates, one of their leaders on their team. But not only that, I mean, these are 16-year-old kids being exposed to something that no 16-year-old kid should ever have to be exposed to. And, that's their own mortality. So it was tough. And, the tough thing is, there's no playbook for this. Kids are all grieving in different manners. Some kids are shutting down. Some kids are just flowing like waterworks. And it's just like that old adage, you don't coach any two kids the same way. It's sort of the same thing with this. It's, everybody's dealing with this in different ways.
Bob, I heard you just say that there's not a playbook for this. And that's kind of what was going through my head as I was listening to you talk. And I love that you said, let's meet at the rink. After the hugs, after the teammates seeing each other, the families seeing each other, can you share, was there an opportunity where a couple players stepped up and said something, or was that your opportunity as the coach to then stand up and share a message with the team? How did that go?
Yeah, I mean, not immediately. I think the kids were all in shock. They were in shock.
Yeah.
Some of them shut down. Some of them were grieving uncontrollably. I thought it was important for our coaching staff to step up. Just tell them, hey, we don't understand this, I'm 59 years old. I don't understand this. So I can't imagine what's going through your mind, but, we want you to know that we are here for you. There's nothing that we can't talk about. So we had Sean Hazelton come in. He spoke a little bit. We had grief counselors come in. This is a few days later. The organization was great. The rink is everyone's safe spot, and they opened the rink up for us for just the boys just to go out and play, have some fun. Hopefully for a few passing seconds, try and put this out of their 16-year-old minds. It's knowing that the minute they got off the ice and they got inside their own heads, it was going to be forefront in their minds. So yeah, it's we're still dealing with it.
I want to point out a couple things here. You had mentioned the type of people that the Browns are when they reached out to you. I think that also tells us the type of person you are. And I think people in the hockey community understand this. There's probably very similar communities out there, whether it's in sports or schools or, I think of the military in some regards. We spend so much time together. We joked earlier about off season, but your team this year is getting together as early as next week, and they'll be together hopefully all the way through May. And you think of the time, the hours that you spend together, you become this family. And then by extension, they're friends from the high school teams or friends that they played with on other teams. And so it's not surprising to me getting to know you like I have and from talking to folks who know you, the type of leader and the type of person you are, that they called you. But it also talks about how important that hockey family is. And so, you're at this point where you've just been like, there's no way to really explain what has just happened to you. You're in shock. What did you do as a coach? Like, who did you talk to, or did you talk to people? What did you look internally, because again, for people at home who may not know, Colin lingered for about a week, and it was up and down. And I know that being involved with Affton and the people like, some of his teammates that played with Brendan and played with him on CBC, we didn't know Colin personally, but we knew Colin. We knew that those players. How did you cope with that? Because I think that's important for our coaches to hear. Hopefully they never go through a tragedy like this, but we don't have all the answers.
Yeah. Well, I've got a great coaching staff. We leaned on each other, but mostly I leaned on, because we all, I felt the need to be strong for the boys, but obviously I needed to go through my own grieving process, and that's where my wife came in. She's my rock. My kids, they're there for me. We've got a tight family, and they help me with the questions and just the day by day, just getting out of bed and moving forward, because it was that tough. I mean, I've never experienced anything like this. I mean, we've all experienced loss, but this unexpected loss to a 16-year-old who you care so much about is just, to me, was just incomprehensible. And I'm still, to this day, 8 months later, 7 months later, still trying to make sense of it. And there's no making sense of it. There's just moving forward in a way which honors Connor, or which honors Colin and his legacy.
You talked about moving forward there, Bob. So what did you see as your players? It sounded like you had a sheet ice that gave the kids an opportunity to get back out.
Yeah.
When you did start playing hockey again, what did you see from your kids? How did they take that forward? Were there any examples you can share?
Yeah. Let me just go back just one step to the buildup of that, because we weren't sure.
Sure.
I mean, we weren't sure when or if we were going to play again. I mean, that was literally the discussion with the boys. And, we had a game scheduled. Our next game was against the Sting, and it was before Brownie's funeral. And there was some discussion. I think most of the boys wanted to get out there. And, it sounds cliche. It's, it can sound self-serving to say, that's what Brownie would have wanted.
Right.
That's truly what Brownie would have wanted. But, it didn't feel right, and we weren't sure. And then we got a group me message from Calvin. And
Calvin is Colin's dad for the listeners.
Yeah, that's right. Sorry. And it was a long message, and the gist of it was play. You've got to play. That's what Colin would have wanted. And I as we've all learned, tomorrow is not guaranteed. So you take advantage of every opportunity you have to play. So we decided to play, but the boys were still a little, we were supposed to play at the Mills. And it's a nice sheet, but, to our boys, there was nothing more depressing than the thought of stepping on the ice for the first time in a environment that actually we didn't even play there 2 years ago. So this would have been our first game there, with this group. I reached out to the Sting coach and said, hey, I realize this is a big ask, but would you be willing to move the game to Affton? I think my boys would feel more comfortable with that. And again, I know this sounds self-serving, but, you'd be helping a group of boys, a group of 16-year-olds get on with their lives. And they graciously agreed to move the game to Affton. And tell you what, our boys came out on fire. We talked about playing for Brownie, but, that can be a loaded saying. The last thing I wanted was, hockey's a game of mistakes. You don't want a kid turning a puck over in the defensive zone, which leads to a goal, thinking all of a sudden I let Brownie down.
Right.
What we talked about, so we talked a lot about what playing for Brownie meant, and it's embracing the, the principles that he played with. You play with max effort, you play with discipline, you play in a team style environment, and that's how we're going to play the rest of our season. We're playing for each other, and if it works out for us, great. But we're going to do it in a way which honors Brownie, and that's. I think we came out of the gates and won 3, 4, 5 games in a row, played some really good hockey. At some point we started running out of steam. The emotion, it was a tough. It's a tough process, and I think that's what happened at the end of the season. And if some of the boys are being honest, I think there may have been some relief, when the season was over, because
right,
it was a
heavy,
long, tough season.
I imagine that was heavy, and I love just the little nuance of you telling the story about how you switched the game to your home rink. What a unbelievable move. That's a stroke of genius there.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things I think that we can I want to unpack when we come back from the break here, because there's a healing process here, and I think that there's some things that we can expand upon, and then I really want to transition into talking about Colin the hero and talk about what that legacy is, and really give some praise to his parents as well. But we're going to take a quick break here, but before we do, I want to talk to everybody about 5B Designs. St. Louis hockey families and business leaders, if you need custom gear that stands out and stands for something, it's time to meet 5B Designs. Founded by Shannon Brahini, a proud St. Louis mom and entrepreneur, 5B Designs is a woman-owned small business that brings purpose to custom apparel. Whether you're suiting up for your youth or high school hockey team or leveling up your company's branded swag, 5B delivers top-notch quality with a personal touch. You need a team store? Not a problem. Corporate polos or event giveaways, they got you covered. 5B makes it easy with a fast turnaround, flexible service, and designs your players or employees will love to wear. Check them out at stores.inksoft.com/5B Designs. That's 5, the word FIVE, and see what purpose-driven apparel looks like. 5B Designs, founded by Shannon Brahini and powered by community, proudly woman-owned. We'll be back in a minute. All right, we're back here with Too Many Men on the Mic and Coach Bob Jakubeck. We're talking about the tragedy that was the passing of Colin Brown, but we're talking about how a youth hockey team comes together as a family and heals. There'll never be a point where you're fully healed. It's like, when you lose a teammate or you lose a family member, there's always that gap in your life, but how you fill that gap with the love and the memories, I think, is where we're talking about today. Bob, you mentioned, the initial 24-48, the initial week, how you helped work with your boys. What was that first away trip like? Because as we all know, when you're on the road with the team, and these teams are traveling in some instances 2 or 3 times a month, and they're eating, they're sleeping, they're spending some sleepless nights together. We take these things for granted that we're just, because we're such into routine, and now you're into this routine, and there's a piece of you that's not there. Talk to me how you worked through that. And how your team and who were maybe some of the, you don't have to mention the kids by name, but did some of these kids, kind of see some of their teammates were hurting a little bit differently and were helping each other out? How was that?
Yeah, that was tough. So this was mid-December, I think, our first trip. And the way the scheduling worked out, I don't like doing this, but it was a 5-game weekend. So we were busy. It was mostly hockey, which, I think is good for the boys because, like I said earlier, they're where they felt the safest, where they felt at home was, on the ice, regardless if it was our ice or in Chicago playing the Leafs or whatever. What struck me was Brownie loved road trips, loved staying in hotels, loved traveling. So it hit me personally hard just knowing that, he would have loved to have been there. The other thing that, again, the Browns are amazing people. The Browns came to Chicago for that trip.
Wow.
Yeah, they came.
And let's talk really. I mean, we've got Calvin and Tracy, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Calvin and Tracy Brown.
And Liam, and their brother Liam.
Who's playing 16U Affton this year, right?
He is, yeah.
For Chris Durso and Don Arias. So
yeah. Interesting story about that. So,
I heard. Yeah, I was gonna say, tell this story just because it's so hockey. It's so hockey. It's so hockey,
and it's so I've had so many indications from Brownie since his passing that, hey, just letting me know, hey, coach, I'm okay. This was the latest. So you asked about the road trip. Well, we had 5 games coming up. We're getting close to the December 31 roster cutoff, and I've got 5 defensemen. And I grappled with this, but I'm like, I don't think I can finish the season with 5 defensemen. What if somebody gets hurt? So I made maybe one of the toughest decisions I ever had to make in my life, which was to take Brownie off of our USA Hockey roster and replace him with an 09. His name's Jack Figemeyer. Boy, the boys took him in. It was a great fit. He came in. He knew there were big shoes to fill, but he wasn't trying to fill Brownie's shoes. He was just trying to come in and be part of a team. So anyway, fast forward. Liam Brown makes this 16U Central States team, which for me was the highlight of the tryout season, and it doesn't even affect my team. But he made the 16U Affton team. He was going to Nashville this past weekend for a hockey tournament up in or down in Nashville, and it's a Canadian team. For all he knew, it was a team full of people that he wouldn't know, and I knew Liam would make friends. Well, as it turns out, his teammate and defensive partner for the weekend was Jack Figemeyer.
Wow.
He took Brownie's spot on his roster on our roster last year.
I mean, that doesn't get more. I mean, Colin's letting his little brother know. He's letting Figemeyer know, hey, not only am I good with this, thank you, and take care of my little brother while we're in Nashville. So
yeah, right.
And that is so hockey. That's so hockey.
And I felt like he was talking to me too, because I felt guilt. I felt guilt every time I went to the rink. Imagine having to send that text or that email saying, will you make this roster change for me? Remove Colin Brown. Yeah.
I mean, obviously the community banded together. We had Colin Strong. I don't know of a single hockey player, hockey coach, on ice official who didn't have either the number 72, his Affton number, or the number 3, his CBC number on their helmet. Every team in the Central States League, which for those who may not know, Central States is a multiple state hockey league, one of the highest, leagues that you can play in from a tier 2 standpoint, stretching all the way to Colorado, Nebraska, Chicago, Nashville, and obviously here in St. Louis. Every team that we came across was wearing, Colin Strong or the number 3, number 72. And so let's talk a little bit about that legacy and the legacy of what Colin and his passing have taught us about honoring a person, living every day, and being in the moment. But also let's talk about the family decisions that Colin's parents made and that really put Colin in a place to be a hero when through his path. Yeah.
So, the shooting happened on November 23rd. On November 28th, I think they made the decision that they were going to remove Colin from life support. We were all at Affton. We had ice, and we got a text from Calvin saying, if you can make it, here, please do. You don't have much time. There was going to be something called a walk of honor, and I had never heard of it. I didn't know what a walk of honor is. But for those that don't know, when someone donates their organs at their death, the hospital staff takes you on a parade of sorts through the hospital corridors while friends, family, some cases strangers, I guess, line the corridors and get to pay their last respects. It was an incredibly moving moment. There were so many people there. And, I said strangers, but I think I knew 98% of the people that were there. That's, the hockey community at large came out, and it was an unreal, it was obviously an emotional moment, but it was a moment to look back on, and just another reason to be proud of Brownie for. He saved 5 lives through the donation of his organs, and I just can't imagine having to make that decision as a parent. I mean, objectively, it seems like a no-brainer. It seems like the thing to do, but until it's your son or your daughter, and you've got to make that decision, and I just commend them. That's the type of people the Browns are, and they are insistent, and we're all insistent upon honoring Colin's legacy by, living life the way he lived life. He was a kind person. He's the kind of person who would do anything for anybody. Brownie was the best. So they've started this movement. It's on social media. It's called 72 Acts of Kindness. And for those of you who want to check it out, it's on Facebook. It's on Instagram. It really is amazing. It's heart-wrenching because, Tracy, Colin's mom, will drop in, daily stories. This is what I was doing that day. They've got 2 days of every month at a minimum that they have to try and somehow get through. The 23rd of every month, which is the day that he got shot, and the 28th of every month, which is the day that he passed. You add in Father's Days, Mother's Days, birthdays, all that stuff. It's just a mountain of things to get through. Well, you'll see you'll be able to share their learn more about their stories if you're on that site. But what that site is really about is about doing random acts of kindness for someone out of the goodness of your heart in honor of Colin. It's already off and going. I know our hockey team's going to have a community day to honor Colin. We're not sure what it's going to be yet, but we're looking at options, and hopefully everybody will do something in Brownie's name, because that's what he wants.
Coach, let's talk offline about that, because I'm involved with another charity that I think will help with that.
Okay, great.
I last week we talked about coaching, and I think one of the things that I was trying to get through to a lot of new and young coaches is have joy when you're doing this. Obviously, when you're going through such a tragedy, you feel as if you're never going to feel that joy again. But I want to say thank you, because just in this telling of this story, I don't even think you realized how impactful in the way you took this on as a leader, as a servant leader to those young men. We're all going to go through ups and downs, and hopefully never anything like this. But to be able to listen to your story, how you handled this with such grace, compassion, and the servant leadership mentality, it's beyond hockey. And that's what I think is if you can wake up every day as a hockey coach, or as a parent, or a hockey player, or a ref, and you could say, I'm going to enjoy this, because if you can just have a little thought about whether Colin or some other person that touched your life that maybe didn't, the book didn't end the way that you thought it would.
Right.
Man, what a gift that you've given to those boys. What a gift that you've given to Colin's memory and legacy. And frankly, to me and Drew here, sharing this time with us. Everybody needs to go to 72 Acts of Kindness. We're going to post that on our social media. It'll be linked in on the YouTube when this airs. But Drew, I'll let you kind of finish this off here, but I just wanted to say thank you, Coach. Thank you, Bob, because this is really what true coaching is. This is why we do this. You hope you never have to do something like this, but the grace and leadership that you showed, I think, is going to be with these boys and Colin's family, and certainly people that get to know you forever. So thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, Bob, thanks for opening up a little bit of your life for a little over 45 minutes with us here on the show. I love your stories. I love the arc and what was happening at different steps along the way.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, I can't even imagine being in the hospital during that walk. I can only imagine how emotionally charging that was for everybody. And then I love the Facebook and the 72 acts of kindness. What a great representation of what sounds like a very authentic, real young man. So thanks for your time today and joining us. I'm glad the technology worked for the three of us.
Absolutely.
And that remotely we were able to pull this together. So lots of love to the KLIS team and Lou Info team on bringing this together.
If you're sticking with us here on KLIS, stay tuned for, oh my gosh, I'm losing my train of thought here. Stay tuned for In Your City show with Kelly and Gordon today from 4 to 6. But again, thank you from the bottom of my heart, from the Too Many Men community, from the youth hockey community here in St. Louis, Bob. I'm looking forward to learning from you this year as I get to, it's personal for me. My son gets to get mentored and coached by you, and I could not be more proud for that opportunity. So thank you so much for joining.
Well, I'm excited about it. As a coach, we're learning every day. So I learned a lot this year. So, yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Bob. Enjoy the Lake of the Ozarks. Drew, don't fall off a mountain in Durango. I'm going to go.
I won't.
Everybody, thanks for tuning in to Too Many Men on the Mic. Remember, hockey is more fun the better you get at it, and we got better at hockey today. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob.
Thank you.
All right. I think we're done, man. Jeez, what a